Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. I'm sending you all love and high vibrations. It's been the same story in crypto land for the past week. Sideways price action boring out the retail. A little bit of downside over the past couple days, which is to be expected around a full moon. And we're about 6 days into Mercury retrograde with almost identical price movement to what happened in crypto back in May and June of 2021. So in today's video, I'm going to start out with the Gematria decode to share some upcoming dates to keep an eye on, and then jump into the chart of Bitcoin and also share some technical analysis on the DXY, the US dollar currency index, which has been showing a setup that could be interesting, that could also be giving us some insights into how the month of February will be going for the crypto market. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, numerology, and astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow this community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So very quickly, we're going to be starting out with a Gematria decode, but apparently today was the day where in the USA, they were allegedly launching the C-band spectrum 5G, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if they're delaying that again, so maybe someone can confirm that, what's going on in the comments. No spamming, please, but I would be interested to know if they've decided to go forth with that. It was supposedly going to happen on January 5th here in the USA, and then they pushed it to January 19th, and that's today. The 119 date, or 9/11 backwards. Perfect day for them to do such a thing. But anyways, I'm pretty interested to see how that's all going to play out, because I've been watching some amazing videos about the iPet Goat 2 and some decodes that other people have been doing on it. I've also been decoding iPet Goat 2 a little bit in the background for the past 6 months or so. Haven't really found anything that's really worth pinpointing that other people haven't already shared, but it's definitely interesting, especially with the symbology of the tiger and the year of the tiger, and how that's what we'll be moving into on February 1st. So anyways, if I have any updates to come on that, I will be giving that to you guys, but for now, let's just focus on the immediate short term, which are the two dates that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, and they are the 22nd and the 23rd of January. So very quickly with the 22nd of January, this one's obvious. It is the 22nd day of the Gregorian year 222, and this will also be in the Hebrew year of 5782, which is reduced down to 22. So this is a big number in my opinion regarding that. Another connection is this day leaving 343 days left in the year, which is 7 times 7 times 7 equals 343. And in Judaism, they love their sevens. So that's the 777, or the jackpot. And it adds up to that 343, of course being on the 22nd day of the year with the 11 date numerology. And when you tie this to the last Hebrew New Year, Rosh Hashanah, you get 137 days, which is 137 is the 33rd prime number. So we have the 33, the 22, the 11 in the date numerology, and days left in the year 777, 7 times 7 times 7, giving you 343. Pretty amazing how this all ties together. The 11 being all about new beginnings or restarting, the restart, like Genesis 1:1 being the restart from the reset, the great reset, or we can call it the greatest reset if you think about it. And then we have the 22 being all about master building, the master builder, the master destroyer. It's amazing how all these numbers come to fruition. The 137 giving you the 33rd prime, 33 being all about transmutation, coming back to alchemy. So anyways, let's move on. The Reason this date is important is not only because it being the 22 date in the 222 year, but it is also the transition date to this date, the 23rd. And the 23rd is interesting to me because of the connections I've been making to Mercury. And I've been talking about Mercury quite a bit lately in the past couple videos. But Mercury giving us that 23 in Chaldean. And of course, this is going to be the 23rd day of this year. So this 23 connection with Mercury in Chaldean cipher ties to Bitcoin in the same cipher. And I can make a couple other connections too, but this 23 number, I'll just show you through Mercury. It's the 9th prime. So that 9th prime, that 9 comes back to Bitcoin again through the ticker symbol BTC with the 9. And I was telling you how we're currently in Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde is giving us that 97, and 97 is the 25th prime number. And that 25 also comes back to BTC, the ticker symbol. So I know in my last video I was talking about Mercury retrograde in regards to the connection to XRP through that 58, and I'll show you really quickly. You have 58 and you have XRP giving us 58. And this connection here, I wanted to also bring up in this video how Mercury ties to Bitcoin as well, not only through that Chaldean cipher that I was showing you with that 23, but a couple other connections that I just showed you. Now, there's also connections through other more esoteric connections. When you're taking the mythologies, you know, you have the Greek, the Roman, you also have the Sumerian, you have the ancient Egyptian. You could break it down very comprehensively if you'd like to, and I urge everyone to. As decoders, you need to know your mythologies. Period, end of story. It is absolutely crucial. But when we're breaking this down, you can make it so easy as just using the Chaldean and the English ordinal, and as I've just shown you. So I'm really interested in Mercury a lot more now because I've been studying it deeper, and I've always known this is the god of commerce. But something that's really important about this Mercury character is it is the god of commerce, and with that being said, it has everything to do with fiat. So fiat is really interesting because it's just fake money. Now, this is why Mercury is the trickster, because that is what he's in charge of. And all of this symbology that we're getting with hospitals and, you know, all the deceit, all the deceiving systems that we have, it's very much Mercury. And I've been studying this deeper and deeper, and I'm starting to make some bigger connections here. And it is no coincidence that we're getting this tie to Bitcoin, and no coincidence that we're getting this tie to XRP, because XRP's logo is the X, and the X is the cross. And the cross has everything to do with not only the crucifixion, but it has to deal with the mutable cross. And those of you that are studying astrology, you'll start to see how, you know, this is actually quite simple stuff. And if you want to break it down through other mythologies like Norse, you have the tree crucifixion is Yggdrasil and Odin, and you could just keep breaking it down further and further, and it all comes to the same apex. So the point being is that what's going on here with this huge connection is bringing me to the code and these numbers and how we need to take them into consideration. All these deities are all family. All the titans are all family with each other, so there should be connections to be made. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up because I need people to know that. Mercury is the god of commerce, also the voice between the mortals and the titans, but he is the trickster. And the trickster is creating fiat, which is fake money, and creating a slave system here on Earth that we have to take part in, unfortunately. That's part of our experience here in the Matrix. And what sets us free is truth, and truth is love, and love is allowing, and this is the process of relinquishing fear. So this is all to be considered here when it comes to enlightenment. Now, with this being said, I'm really interested in how this all plays itself through, because this date being the 23rd also gives us that 66, and that is with the date numerology I like to do with the 1 plus 23 plus 20 plus 22, giving us that 66, and we know that that is special. So when it comes down to these elites and how they perceive numbers and why certain ones are more important than others, we know that the master numbers play a key role here. But this 66 or the 666 that we get quite often, I've shown you guys many times, it comes back to carbon, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. We are carbon man, and that's all it is. It's the matrix. It's the physical realm. That's period, end of story. That's all it is. So this date numerology being the 12 is important in the, I guess you could just call it the more exoteric side of things, because we have the clock and midnight. When we strike 12 on the clock, or midnight, that is the end and the beginning. So it's the end of the day and the beginning of the new day. And everything revolving around time has to deal with Saturn, because Saturn is Father Time. So this is very much the number that gets tied to Saturn, because the 12, the mirror of 12, is the 21, and that is Saturn's number, the 21, right? And it's, something I've spoken about so much now, I don't really need to beat this dead horse, but that 12 is something that we've been, kind of talking about here and there through Bitcoin's code without even actually bringing it up. And it's just because of talking so much about the 21. Again, Bitcoin has 21 million tokens in supply. You could keep breaking it down further if you want, but it's pretty simple to just leave it at the most basic one, which is its supply. It's what makes Bitcoin the selling point, when you're hearing most of these big wigs talk about it. They always talk about how it's disinflationary and how the supply can never change, and that's always their argument for why it's better than money. That's not my argument. I could care less about any of that shit. I'm on this for the side of speaking and exposing the truth of what's going on here, which is the tie to the esoteric knowledge, and teaching you guys that. That's really all I'm about. I don't really believe in money personally. It's all nonsense to me. I just have to have 1 foot in the matrix to survive here and 1 foot out of the matrix to keep my sanity. And I try my best to speak my truth so I could have as many people out there who align with me vibrationally can start to be empowered and then help empower their communities. I'm not here to tell people that Bitcoin's scarce and you should get it because it's scarce and because blockchain technology is so great. That's all nonsense. That's all to just get people tricked into this and thinking that it's good. But in reality, there's no good or bad. It just is. Everything is I am that I am. And once you get caught in the trap of good and bad, or left and right, or up and down, you get caught in their web. Remember, the internet, it's called internet, in the net, and it's www, World Wide Web. Guess who's spinning that web? Not good people, trust me. So it's all in the symbols, guys, and this is why people need to wake up to this stuff. And once you wake up to this stuff, you can set yourself free. It's all about awareness. It's all about slipping out of that subconscious state for a moment. And you do that by decoding. And it's decoding anything. You don't necessarily need to use Gematria. Gematria is just one part of the puzzle. Plenty of people have just been looking at things for the symbols, and that's a great place to start. That was one of my starting points, was just looking at things for the symbols. Basic things like the back of the dollar bill. That shows you so much truth. So anyways, let's keep it moving. We've spoken about some of the connections here, but one other connection. So remember, I just brought up this 1/23/2022 as one of the ways of doing date numerology, one of my preferred ways, by the way. And this gives you the 66. And I'm going to show you that if we go through the last day of Hanukkah, which was December 6, 2021, and connect it to this day, it is also 6 weeks and 6 days. So we have 266 connections, something to be considered of there. And one other connection, we have the 117. So that'll be 1 month and 17 days. And that 117 does come back to Bitcoin, right? And this 117 number, I don't take it as important with the reverse functions. So when I'm doing Gematria, I put these as like tertiary. So most important for me is always Chaldean, and English ordinal is a close second just because it's ABC equals 1, 2, 3, and we're using English words. When we're talking crypto, we're talking about the New World Order, and the New World Order language is English, and the system that we need to use for Gematria when we're using English words is the English system. Right? That's what makes the most sense. When you're taking in Greek letters, you want to use isopsephy. When you're doing regular Gematria, it's always with Hebrew. That's just the way Gematria actually works. But anyways, with that being said, Chaldean, number 1, English ordinal, tied for number one. We could call it a close number to number one. And then full reduction, I like to be considerate of as well. And I would even go down to reducing, which are the numbers below it. 2, 3 equals 5, 7, 2 equals 9, that reduction number. Luckily, Gematrinator just does all the hard work for you. That would be something I would keep as a very important thing as well. And then the reverses is like my tertiary. It's something I would keep in like the latter stages of my decoding. But anyways, with that being said, it's amazing how Bitcoin gives the 117, because this has everything to do with the 9/11 ritual. So I'll try to be sneaky with the way I describe this, but that 911 ritual was Tower 1 and then Tower 2. They were the twins, or the two pillars, which is Boaz and Yakin, and that's the 1-1. Then next was Tower 7, okay? The 117. That was the ritual. And where did all this energy go next? It went into the pentagon, or the pentagram, right? This is just magic. That's all it is. Unfortunately, all magic requires sacrifice. Sadly, that's what happens at the higher levels. That's the game that they play. So what's going on here? I mean, actually, just a little side note, because this is like some of the most important numbers you get. Boaz and Yakin, you're getting key numbers here. Again, you got that 33 in Chaldean, most pure cipher, 89, 24th prime. And then you have the 181, 42nd prime. So you have the 89, 24th prime, 181, 42nd, the as above, so below, the mirror of 24 and 42. And then you have 44, 55. So you have 33, 44, 55. And then you have the 24 and 42. So the 24 coming back to the amount of hours in the day, or the cycle hours, or is Horus. Horus hours, it's just mixed up. 24 is the zodiac logo of Jupiter. Jupiter is the god of the 3D realm. That's our daddy, unfortunately. Jupiter. And I'm not saying this as a joke, actually. Like, it's really what's going on here. Like, Jupiter, Zeus, overthrown his father Saturn, Kronos, and he runs this domain. The domain. Above us is the dome, the firmament, right? We live in a terrarium. That's what Earth is. Terra, right? Terra, terrarium. That's Earth. That's where we're trapped in, sadly, in this matrix body flesh suit. And in this process, we have to become the Fool card in tarot. You have to become the boy and his dog. Go watch that movie, by the way, if you haven't already. If anyone out there is interested in Tartaria and mud floods and great resets and all of those amazing ideas, go watch the movie The Boy and His Dog. Really mind-blowing. So, anyways, I'm interested in this date of the 23rd and how this could be playing out with, again, the 22nd day of the 222 year. And this being on a Sunday, again, the day of the sun. We have all these connections here, the 66 date numerology, the 12 standard date numerology, which is the beginning of the day and the end of the day at the same time, and that 117 connection again, like I just showed you. Pretty interesting how we can start to perceive numbers in these ways and bring it all together. This will also be about halfway through Mercury retrograde, so I'll actually be making my next Red Pill episode on this exact day upcoming over the weekend. So for any of you out there that are interested in getting more exclusive content, I do my Red Pill episodes, which are a technical analysis podcast. They're usually about an hour or so long. I do them every weekend for the Patreon supporters of the Mastermind Community membership over on patreon.com/watersabove. And those are really great for people who are looking for more in-depth analysis on altcoins. I cover a bunch of altcoins in all those episodes, and it's one of those times where I could really break down and give a comprehensive, analysis on how the week is looking and the overall outlook I have on the crypto market as a whole. So anyways, let's move into the charts. First off, we're going to start with this Mercury retrograde chart that I shared. I probably shared this in my last video if I remember correctly. And we are starting to trade on the outside of this firmament dome. Remember, I drew out this dome going back to start around July 12th. We got a bunch of touch points all over here, a couple touch points over here. Got our all-time high date, again touched before the dump that we had on the 4th around the eclipse, and then we saw some traction on it over the probably like last week, started to trade on the outside of it, and now we're looking for the support to come in around 41K. So this 41K level is extremely important because this level right here is what separates us between pretty much bull and bear market when you're looking at it from a macro perspective. And the reason being is around 40K on weekly closures is what keeps the higher low in the structure. So we have our low down here, we have our higher low here, and now we're seriously like towing the line. Also, disregard if you guys hear any noise in the back of this video. It snowed where I'm at and it's starting to melt. So all the snow on my roof is like falling down. It sounds chaotic, but excuse that if you hear that in this video. Anyways, back to the video. So we are seeing that this is a very tight support line, somewhere between 39.7 and 40,000. Let's just call it 41K. That's really the towing the line. And remember, I've shared the Bitcoin logarithmic growth curve chart, putting us somewhere around that $39,000 level for holding support. Sorry if this is loading. I do want to show this really quickly, though. It might be important. So this level right here, we can see that it is the red dev line of this logarithmic growth curve chart, which is the 4236, or sorry, the 0236 dev line. And it's red because that is like seriously the level to hold. You have here back in the crown top distribution, back in pretty much last year around this time, all through February through April, we hit the all-time high. And then when we came down and broke through this middle white line, we back tested the red line. Here, when we recovered, we got up, made a new all-time high. Once we broke through this middle white line, we gravitated down towards this red line. So this is really interesting. Also, another thing is this blue line right here, it's when the buy signal had its last daily close. So the buy signal flashes, and typically we do not trade lower than where that buy signal was on daily closes ever again. There was one iteration of this where it was not successful, and that was because of the black swan event of the C word. And since then, over here, we had all those 666 connections going back to the C word. We've made it through that time frame. Again, we had the full moon 2 days ago, so it's typically normal to see a bearish energy in the crypto market up to 5 days after a full moon. Today is only 2 days after. It's also the 119 date, which is 9/11 backwards. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about this date naturally, but with that being said, it's normal for us to be kind of in a bearish posture around this time, and it hasn't been a lot of volatility, very low volume, so nothing to really confirm any resolution just yet. But with that being said, this red dev line is playing a solid support, and it's something to take into consideration because it's pretty much backtesting the prior support of the post Rosh Hashanah full moon. So we had here was Rosh Hashanah, the big dump, starting Shemitah, and then you had here the full moon time frame building that support level right around 41,000. It's pretty much where we're at right now. And we've entered Mercury retrograde, which again, if we compare back to this time frame right here, we had total lunar eclipse. We had the big dump around that time of May 19th. Again, this date being the 19th, and this dump on May 19th coming down to finish the wick low at 9:11 a.m. New York time. It's all by the code, guys. So this was a total lunar eclipse. Over here, total solar eclipse, and we follow it up with Mercury retrograde. This Mercury retrograde was just choppy. You could see up, down, and then it based with a double bottom here on full moons. So this was a full moon of June, and this was exactly the full moon of July. After that, we got out of that energy. And here there was a Mercury retrograde around the time of September into October. What's interesting about this is most Mercury retrogrades are essentially just bullish breakouts, or they are boring and they lead to a bullish breakout. So here's one example. You have over here, this was back in 2020. We have Mercury retrograde was very boring sideways, but it led to a breakout. Right here, it's a pretty decent pump, but mostly sideways for a majority of that time, led to continuation. Here, Mercury retrograde. By the way, Mercury retrograde is in all of these red boxes. You just have a breakout the whole time. Here, breakout the whole time. So the one we're getting right now is very much similar to this iteration back here, which again makes so much sense because we had the huge dump on this eclipse and we had a huge dump around this eclipse. Both big pivot points in the crypto market, both of which were creating lots of uncertainty, fear, and then led to lots of boredom. Okay, so it's a very similar structure if we look at it from sentiment and also price action. And that's something that I always like to consider as part of my analysis. So with that being said, we are getting a similar iteration to what happened back here in May and June, and that could be interesting for a setup for continuation into the month of March, or perhaps even starting into mid-February or late February. So I'll get off this chart, but this is something interesting that we've been seeing play out. So I'm going to go to the Bitcoin chart on the 2-week because that's the big close that we just had, and I'm going to continue on that analysis really quickly. I'm going to hide the drawings and I'm going to bring up these exponential moving averages, and this red moving average right here is the 34 exponential. You guys have probably heard me brought it up a couple times. So this is the bi-weekly close, and we just had one of those this Sunday, and this was a very important level to bounce from. And we're still not necessarily confirmed of a bounce from this level, but we are holding that on closures, on the bi-weekly closure. The next bi-weekly is essentially the monthly close. And what we've seen after back testing this 34 exponential is a minimum of 50% bounce. Minimum 50% bounce. So off of here, off of these lows, we actually had a 50% bounce on this one, and then we came down and back tested it again. We never closed below it, but if you look from the closure level all the way to all-time high, that was an additional 100+% gain. Here, we can see that we bounced from it, but we're not necessarily out of the woods just yet. We really need to see a reversal, and we confirm a reversal with new closure highs. I mean, for me, where I'm at with this structure, I need to see 52K plus. No parties until 52K, and we're a ways away from that. So we need to take it one step at a time, and this is sort of what I was expecting into, this month was better to be boring and confusing and bloody than it would have been just a quick V-shape recovery. V-shape recoveries are typically signs of the end. And if anyone wants a true extended cycle so we could really get through this time frame, you need a little bit of boredom. You can't just have choppy forever. So that should clear out a lot of the way people normally want to perceive a market. If people want the crypto market to become mature, well, first of all, we need more boredom. Become more like stocks. If people want it to always be crazy and chaotic, well, then you have to be okay with all the negativity that comes along with that chaos. So it's kind of hard, a lot of people, they want crypto to be very volatile, but they want it to be volatile in their favor, which is bullish. But with with high reward, there's high risk. So if in order to have that insane ROI, you need to be able to withstand 80% corrections. That's just part of the crypto game. And everyone hates being part of those 80% losses, but true investors love seeing 80% losses because that's always opportunity. And that's the way I like to perceive markets. I always get bullish when it's boring, and I always get bullish when it's scary. And whenever it's bullish, I typically start to look for what's going to happen next in regards to downside. Continuation is something that is very easy to map out regarding Fibonacci, Fib Pulls, etc. But anywho, getting back to this, I do like to see us holding this 2-week 34 exponential moving average. Typically, we see a bounce from this level to end bull runs as well. So the 2017 bull run and the 2013 bull run both ended in a retest of the 34 exponential on the biweekly, followed by a bounce. The bounce led to a lower high. What was interesting about this bounce here, bounced twice and then led to a new high. So will we get this again? And then this will be like 3 peaks, let's just say. And those 3 peaks would be very reminiscent of the 3 pyramids. And that's a whole other story, but we'll get there. We'll get there when that time comes, because that would be really something to see. Anywho, let's move on. One thing I do want to show you guys really quickly is a potential way of perceiving where we're at right now, which would be taking a fib pull on the bearish retrace. So I'm going to go from the fib pull down here, and I'm going to pull it up to the all-time high. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'll do it to the left, or more to the right over here. Pull it up to the all-time high. at around 69. And you could see where we're at right here is somewhere sandwiched between the 618 and the 702. Predominantly, we backtested the 702, which is a key level. Again, in numerology, you would perceive 0702 as 72. And this is important because 72 comes back to Bitcoin right there. So anywho, holding this 702 fib would be very, very, very important. Again, it's perfectly in line with these lows back here going to the full moon of post Rosh Hashanah. Getting above the 618 would be important because the next level I would anticipate a retest of is the 0.5, but it's really no excitement until we're closing above this level here around 52K into the 382, 53K. That is the level where I would anticipate, okay, now we need to start getting ready for what's considered to be a bull trap which leads to a dead cat bounce. That is very, very possible, and that would lead to an alt season. But again, one step at a time. With Bitcoin only at around 41K, I don't really want to be talking about 52K. The point is that holding this 40K level is crucial. Otherwise, you're probably going to swipe down to the next level. And you see that the bottom of the golden pocket is perfectly in alignment with the 236. So the 236 Fib Pull, you're getting that by taking the April highs down to the June lows. So that's a perfect Fib Pull. And that 236 is perfectly in alignment with the bottom of the golden pocket when you're doing the bearish retrace. So that 37.4 level, 37.3K, is so damn important, right? That is a very, 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 very important level to hold. If that cannot hold, that is really, you know, where things could get awkward. And with that being said, this level that we're holding right now is looking decent. Especially with the idea that typically we're bearish up to 5 days after a full moon. We had our full moon on the 7th, so 5 full days would put us around that time frame of the 22nd or 23rd, which were the two key dates that I was sharing with you in my decode a little bit earlier in this video. Again, all kind of in alignment with a transitory phase. So we would, and what I mean by that transitory phase is moving towards the next new moon. And the new moon is on the, I believe on the 1st of February, which is the start of Chinese New Year. And that is all sort of in alignment with the Mercury retrograde analysis that I've been sharing. Mercury retrograde ends on the 3rd, which is really interesting because that would give it the 2-3 date numerology, right? So it ending on the 3rd is 2-3, and Mercury, again, like Bitcoin, in Chaldean is 2-3. So be interesting to see how this all, you know, will Mercury the trickster give us a little bit of a end of the January month in relief and hope. We have to see how that plays out. But anyways, let me quickly finish this up with the DXY analysis, and then I'm going to wrap up this video. Because honestly, when it comes to XRP, Ethereum, and a lot of the other altcoins right now, they're all following Bitcoin and the DXY. So it's really all you need to pay attention to right now is the movement in the price of Bitcoin. But with that being said, the downside levels would be holding 40K, definitely holding 40K. And then if we are going to get any big swipes down for a fake out, it would be that 236 level. And that would probably correspond with, you know, some sort of bullish divergences showing up in RSI. And that would most likely be a huge bounce level, like a very, very big bounce level if we're going to get pushed down to there. Right now, we're seeming to hold this structure very well, and perhaps even a bullish W breakout pattern forming. The breakout pattern having the neckline around 44K. So that 44K is in alignment with the 21 exponential moving average. Getting above the 21 exponential is typically a good level for continuation, but in my opinion, I really like to see when we have the EMA band in a bearish posture, which is the 13 below the 21 below the 34, I like to see daily closes above the 34. That's just me being a little bit more conservative, and since doing TA for so long, I like to go more conservative and more like when it comes to the more volatile assets such as crypto, you want to play that route. So with that being said, it's getting above that 34 EMA on the daily. That would really solidify like, okay, things are building structure here. But until then, very choppy, not looking so great regarding relief. You know, crypto though, it'll just take a turn out of nowhere. That's how it goes. So on the DXY, this is really interesting. I'm going to turn off these moving averages, we're going to look at this from a very simple perspective. So back here in November, we saw that the RSI started to get a little bit overheated. So it started to get into that overbought territory, kind of quick, sharp rejection to the downside, and then a double top on December 15th. That's about 21 days later. So that's almost a full month. That is a confirmed double top, and that was a fake out because you could see that it just wicked up there really quickly and then went red in the same daily close. Since then, it started a downward trajectory with lower highs for quite some time. I mean, if we're looking back to this from the day of the breakdown, that's about 50 days. And this is weekly days, so this is days Monday through Friday. With that being said, you can see finally here this day we had a breakdown, and the reason for that corresponds with the moving averages. This was the first day where the close on the DXY got below this white moving average, which is the 55 simple moving average. It's a moving average I've taught you guys to use. It's very important. You can see that since the breakout, which goes all the way back to September, by the way, there was a rally, and after it rallied, it came back to test the 55. Okay, and after it tested the 55, it rallied. But here we actually backtested the 55, closed below it, and then failed. And after that failure, we've had this cross come in, which is the 8 below the 55, and that's what I call the wolf cross. This is a wolf cross with downside implied. All right. After backtesting this key level of 94.5, which makes a lot of sense because if you hold your cursor here, it is within the resistance of all these days right here. So resistance top, resistance top, resistance top. Finally, we broke through it. Eventually, you know, this is Forex, so eventually you do have to backtest it. This is a clean backtest, but look at where we got our rejection since the backtest rally. Right at that 55. So we got rejected yesterday, and then today we are also continuing that rejection, which tells me that this will be a confirmed breakdown with a new low closure, and that's below 94.9. So if the DXY can close below 949, I suspect that this will be actually in a slight micro downtrend for a short period of time, perhaps the next like 100 days. And the Forex is slower, guys, so this is going to translate in the markets a little bit differently. But with this being said, when the dollar, the US dollar currency index, which is the ticker symbol DXY, when that is bearish, typically the stock market indices and crypto are bullish, and it's the inverse when it's the other way around. With that being said, this would be very normal for the DXY to be slightly bearish ending Q1 as we move into Q2 because we have sell in May, walk away. So there's relief into the months of March, April, and then May is like a transitory point. Now with the eclipse in April 30th and May 15th, this makes so much sense. And I'm not trying to feed bullish bias here. This is me looking at the DXY and seeing a structural problem in regards to structural integrity. Another thing to be said is the weekly chart, we do have a bearish cross on MACD, multiple week, okay? And if this cannot hold the 200 simple on the weekly, which will also be below the 382, where's the next level it's coming down to? Boom, right here on the 200 exponential, which is 94.3, okay? This is a pretty substantial move off top, right? And it would start to almost look like, you know, okay, well, we've stopped out for a moment. And this asset takes more time than something like a crypto, right? This is a fiat index. This is going back 100 plus years now. So anyways, with that being said, this is an interesting structure, but I will be honest here. From the eyes of an analyst, this is like a bull flag. So we need to be open-minded. However this goes, I am long-term bullish on the DXY. Because Shemitah, which is the phase we are currently in, is historically deflationary. Historically. All right, this isn't my opinion. This is 100 plus years of data. Every 7th year on this sabbatical year, which is called Shemitah, the DXY or the dollar gains strength. It doesn't necessarily happen in the year of Shemitah. Sometimes it happens in the year after Shemitah. Remember, Shemitah means release in Hebrew. Release is why we get big market crashes after Shemitah ends, which for us will be September of 2022. Right now it's only January, so we have like 8 months to go before this could start to become really, really awkward for the global markets. And this idea of kicking the can down the road is very normal in a fiat-based system. It's completely fraudulent, and these banksters do it the way they do it to make it seem real. They crash it and pump it accordingly to make it seem like it actually is reality. But it's just a system they use to keep their pockets full and everyone else on the wrong side of it. But they never hid this knowledge from anyone, because the same way I learned it is the same way anyone else could have learned it. Open up the charts, look at the 100 years of S&P 500 data, look at the DXY, this one right here, DXY with the E. This goes back literally, like, you could find data going, I'll show you really quickly. You could find data going all the way back in this. It's like, oh, this one's going to, let me see really quickly. I remember seeing some pretty amazing data. It might be another chart that I have set up, but it goes back really far. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy how much information we could get on this. But anyways, I don't want to bog down this video. Definitely check out this DXY chart when you get a chance, or it could be this one right here. But anyways, it's amazing. This one going back to 85. I saw one that was going back to the 60s. Incredible stuff. And also the Fred website, the Federal Reserve website, has some pretty incredible charts as well going into the yield. But anyways, with that being said, I should wrap up this video now. It's been a really boring week here in crypto, and everyone needs to kind of take this moment to just relax, let these charts do what they do best, which is either shake people out or bore people out. And when they get bullish again, people FOMO in. You guys have been doing this long enough. Anyone that's been following my work now knows how this game goes. So enjoy the rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.